Well, a good afternoon, everybody. We are back. The GT Cup is back for round 4 here at Monza, and we're going to be sending it around Italy. 5.793 kilometers, 11 turns, 7 to the right, 4 to the left, 50-minute race, and a driver change window between 21 and 29 minutes. We're going to be looking forward to yet another, what has to be said, a very, very interesting display, to say the least. We watched qualifying earlier on, and that itself was pretty special, to say the least. Dirk Schuiten once again hitting the top end and nestles in yet another superb qualifying lap time, now bringing his pole position count now up to 4, and he's going to look ahead now to this race in the front end of things, with Jan Larison joining him on the front row. My name is, of course, George Morgan. Joining me in the commentary box is none other than Ian Silvestrin. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm very well, George. Thank you. It is great to be back with the GT Cup. Of course, they've had a break. They kicked off the series at Paul Ricard in the south of France, Spa-Francorchamps, Hungary, the Hungaroring, where the weather was, well, quite a few degrees warmer than as you can see on your screen than we've got here this afternoon. And this is round 4 of 5 of the GT Cup Championship. Effectively, in layman's terms, these are for, let's call them GT4 spec cars for the large part. As you look at Jan Larison, the championship leader on your screen, he will start from grid 2. Dirk Schuiten took pole position earlier this morning.
Yeah, certainly did. And once again, enlisted another pole lap time. He'll start from the front end. And further back, Ria Lucas, who unfortunately spun his car. And unfortunately, it meant the case that they had to bow out of that particular session of qualifying. Yet again, though, their time was good enough for a P3. Joan Vignes as well in 4th, with John de Wilder in 5th. John de Wilder, one of the most consistent performers in the AM category, who has taken quite a number of race wins already this season and has done spectacularly well. In terms of the fastest lap side of things, obviously, Dirk Schuiten, believe it or not, has not actually pulled one off this season. Jan Larison has pulled it off twice, race 2 at Spa and race 1 at Hungaroring. The only other 2 drivers to score fastest laps this season are Christopher Zirkling, who managed to nestle in a pole lap time back in race 1 in Paul Ricard and race 2 at Paul Ricard as well as in behind Alex Fontana, who's also managed to nestle in a purple lap in race conditions. So Dirk Schuiten, he could get his first here today. Of course, he will have a clear track ahead of him. Of course, Jan Larison be hoping to put his car up ahead of his, as we now see Jan Larison now make his way through this next right-hander. He'll be taking the 2nd spot on the grid order, the front row. Ahead of that of Ria Lucas and Joan Vignes. And we'll have to see who comes out on top in this one. It's a very busy pit, well, certainly lane of cars with plenty of teams obviously looking to give final instructions to their drivers and get in all the necessary talks. Of course, Dirk Schuiten will be swapping out in his car for Lucas Valkra when the driver change window opens up. We will, of course, run through the drivers in their respective cars very shortly through the entirety of the grid. But we just witnessed a very busy GTOpen race, Ian. Do you think we'll see something of the same here in the GT Cup?
One part of me hopes so, and the other part, which is the common sense side of the brain, says I hope not, because it was absolutely frantic. You can see the shot on your screen. It is still raining lightly. Yesterday, we had free practice 1 day into autumn in the Italian, or in the Northern Hemisphere, on a dry circuit overnight. In fact, early this morning, the heavens opened as you look at Dirk Schuiten to start on pole position.
Yeah, away from Dirk Schuiten there indeed, who starts on pole position, partnering up Lucas Valkra for this race. Alongside him is Jan Larison, no stranger to the front end of things, certainly. He's currently top in the championship. Obviously, we'll have to find out whether that will remain the case after today's race. And he'll be looking for a big launch as well when we get underway for racing. We have then got Ria Lucas, who's currently sat in 3rd on the grid. She's there and partnering certainly her teammate as well in this one. We will be seeing how they get on. Charlie Hollings, of course, is going to be driving that Lamborghini Super Trofeo car alongside her. Joan Vignes in 4th on the grid too. Car number 13. Also be looking for a big bold jump as well. Look very racy as well. Thumbs up from Joan Vignes. And further back, John de Wilder, the man who has been really consistent and starts from 5th place as well, looking for a big launch as well. Try and get yet another win in his AM crown this season. Alongside him is Eugenio Pisani, the Pro-Am driver as well, starting from 6th place. And we'll see how he gets on, the Italian. obviously, again, the conditions are going to be so key in this particular race. And of course, he'll be relying on a big launch as well. Street Art mark their return in the GT Cup as well, with Julian Darris having to bring the second car down for this event here this weekend, because of course the other one got a little bit damaged prior to it joining the track this weekend. So unfortunately they had to whip out the spare. Good job they had a spare though, because then they were able to get back out on track. Laurent van der Velde lines up in 8th place as well. And again, looking for a big race too, rubbing their hands together. He can't wait. But we'll take a look at some highlights of our previous race, and that was Hungaroring, believe it or not, a long time ago it feels like, but nevertheless the racing was intoxicating. Jan Larijsen got a big jump around the outside, managing to take the lead in that particular race. Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valkra, of course, dropping back a few places. John de Wilde was thrown right into the mix of things as well. A lot of side-by-side action between that of Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valkra, but it would be, of course, up at the top end of things, Jan Larijsen, who would take advantage and the race win at Hungaroring. That was race 1, this was race 2, and things once again got very close, heading down in towards turn 1. Nonetheless, it was Jan Larijsen who led the front end of things from the very start of this race 2. Further back, of course, you had John de Wilde thrown right into the mix as well. Further down, Eugenio Pisani coming under great pressure from that of Jan Larijsen too. Further on in the race, Pisani would once again become fodder, as once again Larijsen would come across the line and take yet another win. And that tells the story, folks, as to why Jan Larijsen is up on the top end. Currently leading the championship, 75 points, with Dirk Schouten in behind and Lucas Valkra 7 points behind that of Jan Larijsen. A minor gap in between the two. John de Wilde third in the championship, representing the AM category, and will once again be looking to try and add another win to his AM contingent too. Race 1 is about to get underway, folks, and we're going to be looking forward to this. Here's the grid order for the race. On pole position is Dirk Schouten, lines up alongside Jan Larijsen, the championship leader, in 2nd. 3rd place goes to Ria Lucas. She's lining up alongside Joan Vignez in 4th spot. Further back, John de Wilde is in 5th, alongside that of Eugenio Pisani, who is in 6th place. 7th place goes to Julian Darris in the Aston Martin Vantage, alongside that of Laurent van der Velde in the Porsche 992. 9th goes to Glauco Solieri, who lines up alongside Camille Perrien, the Frenchman, in 21st place. Further down then, we do have, of course, Stefano Zerbi lining up alongside car number 21 belonging to Camille Perrien, and Stefano Zerbi starts from 11th place. Camille Perrien, of course, looking to get a big jump too, alongside that of Glauco Solieri. It's going to be an interesting race here now, Ian, because obviously these cars are going to be going nip and tuck down into the Rettifilo chicane. I suppose it's a case of survival on the first lap.
It is, but in effect, even though it is classed as an endurance race with pit stops, it is a 50-minute sprint. The pit stop window opens after 21 minutes, and it's only open for about 8 minutes until the 29th minute. So a 50-minute race, yes, it's an endurance race in very treacherous conditions. As the field set off on their formation lap, the 2 Porsches, 1 and 2 on the grid. The drivers from, well, the north of Europe, from the Benelux region, the Belgian and Dutch drivers. Let's go down and hear from the pole sitter, Dirk Schouten, his thoughts before the start.
4 poles out of 4 events. That's not bad, huh?
Yeah, really happy with this one. This one is, of course, a bit special because of the rain. And I love the rain, so yeah, I enjoyed myself out there.
Yeah, of course, being Dutch, you shouldn't be too disturbed or unfamiliar with the conditions.
Yes, of course. With karting, we trained in the rain, so yeah, I get used to it really quickly. So the lap time was good.
How bad were the conditions out there?
They were actually pretty good. There was no aquaplaning or something, and I could just drive normally. I had some moments, but yeah, it was quite okay actually.
So this.
2 weeks ago, a Dutch driver took victory on this very circuit. His name is, of course, Max Verstappen, driving in the Italian Formula One Grand Prix. Dirk Schouten taking pole position. George, will we have another Dutch victory 13 days after Max?
It's very possible. I mean, just goes to show that Dirk Schouten not fazed by the conditions here, and he shouldn't be either. I mean, it has to be said, given the fact that his pace was declared in qualifying. It's put him on the front row and on pole position. So let's see what he can do at the very start of this one. It's going to certainly be very interesting, but Jan Larijsen, you can bet your bottom dollar, is going to be on hand to try and stop that from happening. But of course, just want to allude to the fact as well, I did accidentally say that Kamil Perrin was French. He's not, he's Romanian. I made that mistake, so obviously apologies for that. So yeah, if you're listening there, Kamil, at some point, yeah, he is Romanian. So yeah, just thought I'd correct myself at that point. But yeah, Dirk Schouten in top end, currently leading the charge. Of course, Jan Larijsen would be looking to try and get the jump, as I alluded to. Ria Lucas, great to see her up into P3 with Joan Viñez in 4th as well. So we got a 3 Pro-Am contingent up at the top end with a 4th place Joan Viñez there with John de Wilder in 5th, Eugenio Pisani in 6th, Julian Darris in 7th as well, Laurent van der Velde 8th, Glauco Solieri 9th, Kamil Perrin 10th, and Stefano Zerbi in 11th place. So they're making their way now down through Ascari. And of course, as I alluded to earlier, we had a very, very excitable GTOpen race last time out. Of course, now Dirk Schouten will be looking to get the start that he would have wanted. He's not phased, certainly when it comes to racing. He's claimed plenty of wins in the past, and no doubt his points standing just goes to show his consistency. I mean, 3rd and 2nd at Paul Ricard, not to mention 2nd and 3rd at Spa, 2nd and 2nd at Hungaroring. Could it be the first win of the season for that of Dirk Schouten?
Certainly, why not? Starting from the front row of the grid as the safety car prepares to pull into pit lane, and we are ready to rejoin the GT Cup Championship. The penultimate round for 2022. Dirk Schouten on pole position. Jan Larijsen, the championship leader, out of grid 2. The rain is falling. The pace car pulls into pit lane, and we're ready to race.
We are indeed side by side. Dirk Schouten and, of course, Jan Larijsen. The two of them can see each other through the windows. The question is, who's going to lead out of turn 1 and 2? The lights stay red for now, but it won't be long before we see green as they come in twos, and it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. They go in pairs. Certainly, it's Schouten and Larijsen together. Further back, Ria Lucas and Joan Viñez are battling it out in behind too. John de Wilder trying to come into the fray of things too as they head down now towards turn 1. Still in front, it is going to be Dirk Schouten. He leads into the Rettifilio chicane. Further back, Ria Lucas. Ria Lucas has dropped back down to 6th place. Joan Viñez in 3rd. Eugenio Pisani now up into 4th. A huge moment indeed. Julian Darris thrown right into the mix too as they now work their way around the Curva Grande. Side by side again. Action further down, and that's the Street Art Aston Martin who moves ahead too, up into 7th. A great move indeed.
A problem for Glauco Solieri, who has missed the start and in fact circulating slowly down into the first chicane. No problem, in fact, we've got Porsches running 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The 76 Lamborghini of Lucas in 6th place. Larijsen in 54, Schouten in 53. The Q1 track racing team with 4 cars here this weekend, joining us from the Benelux region. Here is Eugenio Pisani going through in position 4, so a clean start for race 1 of GT Cup as they come out of the Lesmo 2 chicane. Down through the Seraglio curve, there is Lucas going through just ahead of the young French driver. Julian Darras, Kamil Perrin, Laurent van der Velde. Solieri still circulating but missing the start badly for the Ginzani Motorsport team. There is Lucas going through just ahead of 007 through the Ascari chicane in still atrocious conditions. The rain is falling lightly. The track is absolutely saturated, but it is more than raceable as Dirk Schouten leads them into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely right. Schouten leading the way. Jan Larijsen 0.8 of a second in behind. Viñez in 3rd. Eugenio Pisani in 4th with John de Wilder, who of course leads the AM category. Viñez, though, leads the AM category in this race in itself. Currently sits in 3rd. Further back, we have got Ria Lucas with Julian Darris there as well. And Kamil Perrin in 8th with Laurent van der Velde further back too. You just see the spray once again being kicked up by these cars as they head into the first chicane at the Rettifilio. There you can see Dirk Schouten. Van der Velde has moved up into 8th ahead of Kamil Perrin as well. So that's a place gain for Van der Velde, the Dutchman. And be delighted with that as he now makes his way through. As we now see the, well, we just saw the Lamborghini just powering out of the first 2 corners, heading around the Curva Grande. And there is John de Wilder trying to chase up and close on Eugenio Pisani, who is relatively quick too. 3 different manufacturers this weekend, of course. We have got a Porsche, Lamborghini, and of course the Aston Martin of Julian Darris. Now we see Eugenio Pisani head through the next chicane at the Rogier before then tackling the Lesmo curves. Shooten leads, Larison in second, 1.4 seconds the gap now. It's sprung out by none other than I would say that, 0.6 of a second now.
Yes, the first two have certainly bolted at Shelton and Larison. There is Julian Darris nervously going through the Lesmo chicanes. George, we spoke about the Andorran Joan Vinales throughout qualifying in these atrocious conditions. This is his opportunity to shine. A former competitor in the European Rally Championship, in a championship, in a series, in a discipline where traditionally there is zero grip. Exactly what we've got here this afternoon in car 13 from Andorra within the country of Spain. For Baporo Motorsport, Joan Vinales. He'll be handing over to João Font, who's back with us. They're in third place as Darris goes through out of the Ascari chicane, and Dirk Shelton puts the 53 car right in the middle of the circuit. Jan Larison, after points here this weekend, is the Belgian driver, first in the championship. Absolutely starred in similar conditions in 2021. When the GT Cup category raced together with the GTOpen class in a GT Cup class car, he was in the top 3 outright, briefly leading the GT3 supercars in the GTOpen category. This is Julian Darris, comes across the line, tries to find some rhythm as Dirk Shelton down into turn 1, into the chicane. The track absolutely saturated. The Q1 track racing team, there is the Belgian flag on the side of the car. They've got 4 cars here from the Belcar series, also racing recently in the Zolder 24-hour race. Many of the drivers for the team from the Benelux series, and the gap between the first two, 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, the gap now has sprung out once again. Yeah, Larison is absolutely, well, he's dropping back, needs to start flying soon because now 0.6 again on top of when we last checked, because Shooten now is careering away, loves the wet weather. He said it in his interview about how much he's trained in the wet in karting, and it's served him well now at this point here at Monza, driving the GT4 Porsche cars too, as they're now rounding the next right-hander. Of course, Vinales now in third too, 3.9 seconds back from Jan Larison, with Pisani then in fourth. John de Wilde 2.2 in behind those, with Lucas then in sixth. Julian Darris then in seventh, with Van der Velde in eighth as well. Solieri is on a bit of a comeback mission, 5/10 in behind Camille Perrion. The Romanian now in ninth, with Stefano Zerbi now down in 11th, tailing off slightly as well, 19.8 in behind that of Solieri. As they now head down the Serragilio straight into what will be the Ascari chicane. Shooten still leads. There's John de Wilde making his way through this next sequence of bends. Obviously a very quick set of bends as well. Very tight, very congested sometimes, especially if you're going side by side. Do not advise that one bit. Another 10th on top now. Larison dropping back yet another 10th of a second behind that of Dirk Shooten.
John de Wilde in position 5. That fantastic shot with the camera set underneath the old banking here at Monza. John de Wilde in car 56 on your screen, one of 4 entries from Q1 track racing. Dutch Supercar GT champion from, 2 or 3 seasons ago. As we hear the Porsche screaming across the line. We'll check the top speeds, 247 k's an hour. That was for Ria Lucas in the 76 Lamborghini, joining us for the first time in the GT Cup Championship. The team from the British GT Series, the gap is now 2.2 seconds. Dirk Shelton P1. The championship is not over yet as we head to Barcelona in a few weeks' time. Of course, we've also got race 2 tomorrow afternoon, hopefully on a dry track. But for the moment, Dirk Shelton is enjoying the rain here this afternoon at Monza.
Yeah, just set the fastest lap of the race as well, and he's only scored a fastest lap twice this season. Scored it in race 2 at Spa and race 1 at Hungaroring as well, so this could be his third. He's currently joined on 2 fastest laps, as that being the top end of things. Christopher Zirkling also took 2 fastest laps at the start of the season at Paul Ricard in race 1 and race 2. So Dirk Shelton nestles one in this race. He, of course, will take the overall lead in terms of fastest laps accrued, as we're now watching the cars make their way around the Curva Grande yet again. And we're watching them now, nose to tail, further back. There you can see the contingent march their way down in towards the next chicane. This, of course, being Dirk Shelton. who's just nestled in the fastest lap of the race, now coming through Ascari with the water streaming underneath the rubber of his tyres right now. It's getting so wet out there. Jan Larijsen trying to bring the gap back in, but it's marching outwards. It's out to 2.5 seconds at this point. It just seems to be 10th by 10th. Dirk Schouten is really starting to apply the pressure, and he's gone purple again in the second sector.
A 2:03.63 versus 2:04.225 last time around into the Parabolica. Jan Larijsen, of course, he doesn't have to win this afternoon nor this weekend to consolidate his lead in the championship. Just needs to stay ahead of Dirk Schouten and Lucas Valkyrie, who will be taking over the wheel later on in the pit stop window, which is not too far away. We're already coming up to 1/5 race distance down. White lines it down the chicane. George, for regular viewers, or new viewers, I should say that, you might ask, why are they doing that? Well, the actual main straight here at Monza is not actually straight. There is a kink in it, believe it or not. It was built 100 years ago. Of course, Monza celebrating one centenary of motorsport just a few weeks back. There is actually a slight kink in it, and there is more grip on the inside of the circuit as Glauco Solieri makes the move on Camille Perriand. So Solieri off screen, off the start. They're side by side with the Parabolica. He missed the start. He came across the start-finish line off camera at only about, 80 or 100 k's an hour as the lights went green. He's now got up to speed as we see them race down the start-finish straight in the rain. There is where the start-finish straight does kink, and they're still side by side under brakes into the first chicane. There is Camille Perriand, the Romanian, on the inside of Glauco Solieri. Super experienced is Glauco, even raced in Formula 3000 back in the day, and he tries the outside of Curva Grande. This is fantastic racing, and he picks up another place and starts his recovery after missing the start earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, getting a lovely move done on the Curva Grande. I mean, Solieri doing the business. Certainly Camille Perriand now down into 10th place. Perriand, though, having another look into the Rogier chicane. This battle for 9th is really heating up. Perriand now retakes that P9 place, and now in position. 4/10 clear now, but look at this. Solieri coming straight back at him. They're swapping places right through this lap. They head now in towards the first Lesbo. Still in front, Perriand, able to hold on to that P9 place. Now Solieri has to try and fight back. He does have the Serigilio straight lined up just after the second Lesbo. Might be able to get into the slipstream and open up the door for a potential overtake. Here's the replay, certainly, as we now look upon Dirk Schouten coming through the next chicane.
Yeah, the rain, it was easing up earlier on just before the start, but it's actually pouring down quite heavily now. As you can see, this magnificent close-up vision of the Dutchman Dirk in position 1, P2 in the championship. And the Michelin Wets, they're working tremendously well here this afternoon. This fantastic fight between Glauco Solieri and Camille Perriand. Great to see Perriand. They joined us for the Barcelona test at the start of 2022 when the world finally went back to normal. Let's not speak about the past 2 years. But they joined us for the Barcelona test. Been racing in the Romanian and Eastern European GT series, and going wheel to wheel in the early stages of race 1 here at Monza with Glauco Solieri. The gap between the two leaders is 2.8 seconds. Schouten going through. Here is the championship leader in position 2, Jan Larijsen, and the Andor and the former competitor in the European Rally Championship, Joan Binez, in position 3. Pisani, John de Wilde, Ria Lucas, Darras, Laurent van der Velde, and then the battle we were watching just a few moments ago between Perriand, Solieri, and Stefano Zerbi rounds out the field.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Schouten now starting to career again some more. 2.8 seconds now that separates him and Jan Larijsen as they head down into the next chicane at Ascari, just trying to find the grippier portions of the track. They're all just swapping sides, swapping ends, trying to find any little bit of grip they can certainly find. Jan Larijsen now heading out of that chicane and sets off after Dirk Schouten. Of course, currently now 2.8 seconds, as I said earlier. The gap, though, between Joan Binez and Jan Larijsen sits at 10 seconds. So Schouten and Larijsen certainly showing that they're in a class of their own at this point in time. Obviously, it could all change, but the driver change kicks in just under 8 3/4 minutes left to go. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Yep, you took the words out of my mouth, George. We are approaching the pit stop window in just a few laps' time. It is a 50-minute race. So probably in about 3 laps' time, we'll see the first cars coming into pit lane, and others will stretch it right to the end, right to 29 minutes. as we look at car 13 across the line, Joan Binez. This is the driver from Andorra that we were speaking about, vastly experienced, has raced in just about every single mate category there is to race. And he's in P3 in these atrocious conditions here this afternoon. Makes his way down through the chicane. The rain is still falling here at Monza. In car 13 for Vaporo Motorsport, who are back with us. They've been in GT International and GT Cup since the early 2000s. Vaporo Motorsport. Joan Binez handing over to Jean Font, who is a regular competitor. He raced here in the rain 12 months ago. The gap between the first two, it's actually getting a little bit closer because Jan Lauritsen has just done a purple first sector. As we go back to the battle between Laurent van der Velde and Julian Darris, tries to line up the 52 Porsche. Great to have the Aston back in the field. Just loses some time out of the chicane though. So we're not too far away from the pit stop window opening in what, George, my mathematics is, yeah, less than poor.
Just over 7 minutes.
There we go, thank you. So that's equating to what, 3 to 4 laps time?
Yeah, absolutely right. And
oh, you cheated, it's on your screen,
yeah.
Countdown, 7:01, 6:59, 6:58, yeah.
It's called initiative. Yeah, there we go. Life lessons being sprung in the commentary box, ladies and gentlemen, as they're watching the cars make their way in through the Lesmo corners. Obviously, now we just saw Julian Darris lose out of place to Laurent van der Velde, who sits in 7th and has taken that place now away from Julian Darris. Camel Perrion down in 9th, currently 21.6 seconds in behind that of Julian Darris. But further up, Binez has now stepped out again, 3.6 seconds additional on top of that of Jan Lauritsen. So really starting to drop back. But Dirk Schouten, just looking now on my screen, Jan Lauritsen has managed to close the gap somewhat between him and Dirk Schouten. Remember, that was +2. That was over 2 seconds. It's now come back in. As I said, that's just jumped out, straight back out again. So they are flirting with it. But looking at the sectors, Jan Lauritsen purple in the first 2. As you take a look at a shot of Camel Perrion coming through the chicane, being closely followed by none other than that of what looks to be Glauco Solieri, who currently sits in 10th place.
Camille Perrion will be handing over to his fellow Romanian driver, Florina Tincescu. Oh, damage for one of the Porsches.
That's
the
Camel
front
Perrion.
right. Oh, the driver we were just speaking about. The rear wing has broken, but that's the least of his problem. He's got no front right. The front of the car is destroyed. Well, he will not be handing over to Florin Tincescu. That's the end of their day for sure.
Yeah, and what about clearing the debris? What about clearing the car as well? We're just
guessing
watching.
He's hit the wall on the inside. Yep, smack, exactly. And the Romanians' afternoon comes to an end right there. Glauco Solieri does pick up the place by default. Lucky to avoid it. Camille Perrion doesn't realise that he's lost the front right and he's parked it in the gravel.
Yeah, that car has seen better days, that's for sure at this point. That tyre came off the car, and that's the end of their race. Now, the question is, what happens now? We're going to go turn 10. Let's keep our eyes peeled and wait and see what the stewards decide to do.
That's at the exit of Ascari. It is well off the racing line. Of course, our race director, Mr. Alessandro Ferrari, will be in good control of this situation. We may well just have a local yellow and be able to race green for the remainder of this 50-minute race, but certainly we are down 1. The Romanians' race is over.
Yeah, I mean, Glauco Solieri was very fortunate, actually. If the debris was substantial, he might have sustained a puncture. You just never know. Of course, he had to run over the gravel to get there. To the inside line, we saw it all scattered across the track. The tyre as well rolling off, hitting the barriers, the steel barriers, obviously in a very safe environment nonetheless. But still, yellow flag at turn 10. Camel Perrion out the race. We will not see Florin Tincescu now. He will not be jumping in the car, so not today. Misfortune, not today, no. Tomorrow, obviously, we'll have a chance. Obviously, they'll set to work on the car overnight, I can imagine, as the cars now work their way around the Curva Grande yet again. Dirk Schouten still on top. The gap, once again, though, coming down. 1.5 seconds now between Jan Lauritsen and Dirk Schouten, so Lauritsen starting to go to work here.
Just 3 minutes away from the pit stop window.
1.2 now. He's really
certainly catching him.
Purple in sector 1 yet again. So Jan Lauritsen has said, look, this is it. I'm going to get going. And there we see, great to see Camel Perrion out of the car, all okay. The crane now being put to work. Very shortly, I'm sure they'll wheel the car out off the circuit. But we're just watching now. Dirk Schouten now make his way out of the Lesmo. And there you can see the debris belonging to that of Carol Perrien's Porsche. You can now see the cars now striking down through towards the Ascari bend, as now Loreisen sits at 1.2. He's brought it in another 0.3 of a second. Purple in sector 1, as I said before.
So double waved yellows. We do not have the safety car out on the circuit. It is a double waved yellow, and of course you saw obviously the striped red and yellow flag indicating the surface has deteriorated, not only from the torrential rain we've had all day, but also the car of Perrien has possibly, or most likely, almost certainly dropped fluid onto the circuit. So it is a local yellow. Oh, Ria Lucas has stopped dramatically on track. The car is running, you can hear it.
Incredible scenes here. Ria Lucas stranded, sitting on the circuit. And we have more cars starting to come forward. Oh, very tight between them. They're all stopping on track. A bit of confusion here.
Because there's a yellow flag.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the street art. Oh, blimey. Deary me, got very close. That was Lauren van der Velde, I believe, coming through. And
wow.
Ended up stopping. Very fortunate that there wasn't a three-car collision right there. But Ria Lucas now dropping down the order. Obviously now Lauren van der Velde managing just to dodge that, as well as the car behind him, Julian Darris in the street art Aston Martin, getting very close between the three of them. But we're now watching them head down in towards Ascari. A bizarre moment in this race again here.
Obviously, you cannot pass under yellow flags, but when there is
Safety
a car stopped on the circuit, it is a different circumstance. Ria Lucas, and the car just comes to a stop quite dramatically.
The lights are off as well. Could be an electrical failure.
No idea. Quite simply, I'm trying to speculate, but we have no idea from our vantage position why the 76 Lamborghini has stopped suddenly out on circuit.
Incredible scenes indeed. Pit window remaining closed as well. Safety car has been deployed. So we're here in this 30-minute mark. 30 minutes still to go. And safety car now out on track. There's Ria Lucas's car. The Lamborghini still out in the middle of the track, as we now see them work their way through. That's car number 13 of Joan Vignez making his way through as well. Still more of them in behind. De Wilder we see in the distance, Eugenio Pisani as well, all of them having to dodge that Lamborghini.
And the debris on the circuit, there was still the right front wheel of Camille Perrien against the wall on the grass there, so there is still the track to clear. And now Ria Lucas has refired the car up and got going again. This is bizarre. We'll try and find out what has happened. But back up to speed in a very strange moment here in race 1.
Yeah, 76 making their debut this, well, this season, their first appearance this season, should I say. And Charlie Hollings will be watching on, hoping that he can get a chance in the car, because of course he's partnering up with none other than Ria Lucas this weekend. So it'll be good news as far as Charlie's concerned. You now see the replay of the restart. There you go. Ria Lucas able to get the car back underway. And the 76 Lamborghini sets off once again.
So behind the safety car, the pit window is still closed. Dirk Schouten is the race leader. Jan Lauritsen, who is doing the race solo, will make the pit stop, but will not hand over to a co-driver. Dirk Schouten, of course, will be handing over to the French driver, Lucas Valkret. Dirk from the Netherlands, Jan from Belgium. And Q1 track racing with 4 cars here this weekend. Joan Vignez in position 3 and Eugenio Pisani. He's driven a good first stint in car 44 in position 4. John de Wilde, Lauren van der Velde, Julian Darris, Glauco Solieri. He's up into 8th place. After fighting earlier with Perrien, he's out. And the remaining runners, Ria Lucas is still running. 4th in the Pro-Am category, 9th outright, and Stefano Zerbi in the Trophy A category, Trophy M category, rounds out the field. On your screen, John de Wilde, the former Dutch supercar champion, in car 56 in position 5, behind Eugenio Pisani. Car 44 for SP Racing. Solieri, we have to mention his team, Ghinzani Motorsport. It's a legendary Italian team which also did race in Formula One way back in the 1980s. Great to see their truck in the paddock. Ghinzani Arco Motorsport, a legendary name in World Grand Prix motorsport, motor racing back in the 1980s. There is the debris left from Camille Perrien's car, and if you look, there is still the right front against the wall. Debris on the circuit as the field make their way through, including Ria Lucas.
I like how it's propped itself like perfectly up against the steel barrier. That's a work of art there from Camille Perrien. But nevertheless, they've still got to try and clear some of the debris. It's littered right through the Serigilio straight right now, so the cars have to really have their wits about them at this point. Safety car is coming in this lap, so we have got confirmation that they will get back underway. So Dirk Schouten leads the way, Jan Larijsen in behind, Joan Vignez there too, Eugenio Pisani, John de Wilde, Laurent van der Velde. Now, Stefano Zerbi, who's obviously still currently behind Ria Lucas. Ria Lucas a lap down as well. So Solieri, we could see that John de Wilde was right there in front of Ria Lucas. Obviously in behind that, they've then got Laurent van der Velde, Julian Darris obviously further back. They are a lap ahead of Ria Lucas. So if you see them behind her, they're just literally, they are ahead. It's just the case that Ria Lucas is slightly out of place in terms of what's going on the circuit. But we're just seeing the cars now work their way through the Parabolica curve now, still under yellow flag conditions, so the safety car is in this lap. And it will be Dirk Schouten to send them off on their way again as soon as the safety car bails into the pit lane.
The field are very spread out. We are being told the safety car is indeed coming into pit lane. The green flag flies, and once again, we race green. Charlton, Larijsen, Joan Vignez, he missed the start initially, but he's got one almighty jump as he ranges up on the outside of the championship leader. Super restart from the Andorran. It is Dirk Charlton under pressure down into the chicane under green flag conditions once again. Joan Vignez missed the start by a mile, but he timed it perfectly. Well, it seemed he missed the restart, but he almost overtook the championship leader for second place.
Eugenio Pisani as well, pressuring John de Wilde, who's up into fourth place. Joan Vignez trying to work hard in order to try and close the gap on Jan Larijsen. Nearly did have him heading into the Rettifilio chicane. Dirk Schouten, though, has kicked on now, 4/10 clear of Jan Larijsen as they head now into the Rogier. There you can see Jan Larijsen now taking that chicane. John de Wilde trying to get closer to that of Vignez for the back. Pisani, who was right in the mix too with van der Velde, now 10.2 seconds behind that of Pisani. So Pisani now working hard to try and close up to de Wilde. These are the contingent of cars making their way round now. Ria Lucas obviously right in the midst of all this too. You can see that car further back, albeit it is a lap down, but the battle for third place is on. Vignez currently holding on to it with John de Wilde peppering in behind.
Still debris on the circuit, but it is off the racing line as the field go down the Serralio chicane. Under the old banking into Ascari, it is Charlton, Larijsen and Vignez who ranged up right behind it. Then beside the championship leader, there's going through John de Wilde, Eugenio Pisani. In car 44 in position 5, Laurent van der Velde, Julian Darris and Ria Lucas, the Cypriot-based driver. From over in the middle of the Mediterranean, there is a racetrack, Acna Raceway, Acna Speedway in Cyprus. George, what do you say? The 2023 calendar was announced in the last day or so. Can we make a minor adjustment and go and race at Acna Speedway in Cyprus?
It's possible. I mean, the weather would be nice.
Exactly, that's why I'm suggesting it.
Yeah, well, it'll be a little bit different to this, to say the least, but we'll certainly wait for it. But obviously the cars now coming into the pit lane. Jan Larijsen already making the jump. De Wilde stays out, Pisani stays out. In comes Vignez as well. So Vignez starting to come into the pit lane. Wami Font will be jumping into the car in this stead. Further on, Charlie Hollings is going to jump in the car too. That's in case of Ria Lucas, who's currently who saw her car come to a standstill. But there is going to be changes made. Van der Velde now up into fourth as well. Julian Darris moves ahead into fifth. There is the stricken Lamborghini that was out on the track earlier on. Luckily enough, got it back underway. Ria Lucas did a great job to bring it back in. And in comes now Stefano. We got Stefano Zerbi and Fabiani making the necessary driver changes as well. Fabio Fabiani jumping into the car. More of them now coming in too.
Glauco Solieri, who is another driver to do the race solo, so will stay in the car, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely right. There is Dirk Schouten, who's staying out on track. Of course, Lucas Valkre will be making the change there. It might be the case that Dirk Schouten gets left out for as long as possible, but he's got to put his foot down now. There's not long left, just over 5 minutes and 20 to go. So Dirk Schouten really needs to be on a charge now, put the throttle down and start to increase the delta to give Lucas a little bit of help.
In these wet conditions, that's only 2 to 3 laps into the Ascari chicane. Nice line over the ripple strip, over the curbs. Accelerates standing water on the circuit and now down the back straight. Well over 200 k's an hour on the back straight despite the wet conditions. As we see Jan Lauritsen rejoin in position 6. So he's probably, what, 1.5 kilometres, around about 1 mile ahead on the circuit to the car on your screen. Dirk Schouten. So Ria Lucas has handed over the Lamborghini from Team 76. Charlie Hollings has taken the wheel. The British driver.
In comes Dirk Schouten. Dirk Schouten's in the pit lane now, so this is going to be the driver change. Lucas Valkre will be stepping into the car. John de Wilde still out on track. You'd anticipate he'll stay out for as long as possible anyway. Lucas Valkre now will jump into the track racing Porsche. There's now Dirk Schouten. Parks his car up, in comes the driver change. Out goes Schouten, in goes Valkre. And he'll be strapped up, new tyres. See on the car as well, pressure checks. And they'll be back underway. Certainly, John de Wilde has taken the lead of the race now as things stand. Eugenio Pisani up into second. Valkre still in third as Julian Darras now moves into third. There's Jan Lauritsen. Now, where's he going to come out as all this happens? Van Dierendonck stepping in for Laurent van der Velde. That's Nicholas van Dierendonck, who will now take the place in that Porsche too. There's Jan Lauritsen. This is such a key moment in the race because, of course, if Lucas Valkre comes out now, it could be the case that they're side by side heading down the Rettifilio straight. Let's find out. Jan Lauritsen now bursting out of Ascari. He's got yet another bend to take, this time at the Parabolica, before they then, well, hurtle down the long straight at the bottom end of the speed trap to undertake the Rettifilio. Further back, you can see, just in behind, Juan Font and Glauco Solieri right in the mix too. As we now see Jan Lauritsen whip his car through this next right. There goes Lucas Valkre, he's jumped. In comes Jan Lauritsen. This is going to be very close, I think, as they make their way out. Is it going to be enough, though, for Lucas Valkre, or will there be far too much for Jan Lauritsen as they head down in towards the Rettifilio? I think he might have got him, you know. They're going to be side by side. Lucas Valkre already busy, coming across into the pit escape line. Is that certainly of Jan Lauritsen now? Is that mind games there, Ian?
That was brave, that was aggressive, that was dominance. Jan Lauritsen knew exactly the situation, drove past the pit lane exit and simply turned right and says, this race is mine. He has taken the race lead back. Jan Lauritsen, that is effectively P1 as we look at the 13 car on screen. So Jan Lauritsen, that was nail-biting, but he's done it. Lauritsen back in P1. Nicholas van Dierendonck. Now, we are watching Nicholas. He is an exciting driver, third in the GT Cup Championship in 2021. As the last remaining drivers at the very end of the pit stop window. They're timing it right to the end. Stefano Zanini is to take over the 44 car, not to be confused with the former pro cyclist of the same name from the same country. Has raced in just about every single make category in Europe in the past 10 years or so. Interesting pit position there from John de Wilde, ready for a quick getaway. And Jahad Fadzal Karim, the French aerospace engineer, will step into the Jetcraft backed 007 and take it to the checkered flag, which is in just over 18 minutes time. Jahid Fadzal Karim. They're also racing in the trophy category. At the moment, we should screenshot that because they are third outright. As Jan Lauritsen down the back straight in position 4, but will take over the outright lead in a few seconds' time because the first three are 1, 2, 3 on the road, but they are in pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely right, de Wilde. They're still in the pits, still leads the way as things stand, but that'll all change. Obviously, Lucas Valkre, we're now watching on our screen, make his way around this next right-hander. We've got Van Dierendonck in behind too. There's Van Dierendonck also making the necessary changes, 1.2 seconds behind that of Lucas Valkre. Juan Font as well in 7th. As they head down the straight, Jan Lauritsen has now officially taken the lead of the race. Charlie Hollings has got a little bit of company now as well. Of course, Wame Font in behind. Let's see whether they call blue flags in this situation. Valkyra now heading down. He's into 4th place as things stand. John de Wilder, incidentally, just seeing the cars now cut through that specific chicane. There is Charlie Hollings making his way through. Wame Font in behind him, not necessarily though in the classification, just on track. As we're just watching the cars now sprint through the Curva Grande. Interestingly enough now, John de Wilder has actually managed to jump Lucas Valkyra in the pit stop phase. So John de Wilder, 3rd on track, just in behind that of Stefano Zanini, and the gap between those two is within it's just over half a tenth of a second, so it's getting really close in between that of de Wilder and that of Zanini. The gap has sprung out slightly now as they head down in towards the next right-hander, of course, at the 2nd Lesmo. Lauritsen leads, Zanini 2nd. De Wilder just in behind in 3rd place. A flash of the lights as well from John de Wilder as they head down now in towards the Ascari chicane. As they now do so, there is our race leader, Jan Lauritsen. Zanini in 2nd, in behind as well, de Wilder. The driver change is now officially over. That is it. All cars have come in. They've made their necessary stops. And now, as they peel through the Ascari chicane, it's all on Jan Lauritsen. Can he score yet another race win? Will it be the case that he stays on top of the championship?
John de Wilde means business here this afternoon. Aggressive from John in car 56 in position 3.
Here he comes.
Stefano Zanini on the inside, and John de Wilde tries the outside into the Parabolica. There is grip on the outside line, but he may well run out of road. Hangs in there. A slight movement from Zanini. Holds the place, no problem, says John de Wilde. Gets the slipstream and tucks back down the inside. Over 230 k's an hour in the wet here at Monza. The two almost identical Porsches screaming down the start-finish straight. Zanini on the inside, John de Wilde, car 56. On the outside, it's a braking duel into a very wet first chicane. Zanini holds him off for the moment. Jan Lauritsen is 9 seconds ahead of this battle with just over 15 minutes remaining. The yellow flag is being waved at turn 6. So John de Wilde has got about 2 kilometres of bitumen to make the move before he'll have to sit there and wait. He's on the outside, which will become the inside, does not need to wait, and simply blows by Stefano Zanini in La Curva Grande into the Rocha chicane. So he's made the move stick before the yellow flag being displayed at turn 6, and I suspect this is the reason why Jahid Fazal Karim at the exit of Lesmo 2 has just taken over the wheel of the 007 car. Kept it off the wall, off the gravel, but right on the racing line, and quickly grabbed a gear and rejoined the race on a very greasy track.
Yeah, Jahid Faisal Karim, unfortunately spinning the car, the street art Aston Martin. So you don't want too many moments like this. Obviously, we know what happened to the previous car. Charlie Hollings trying to work his way through as well. Now, is that him unlapping himself against that of Lucas Valkyra? I think it might be, you know.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, looking really positive there indeed. Great display of pace and tenacity there from Charlie Hollings, who's still working to bring that lap down back, or bring his car back out of a lap down situation. Further up, you can see Nicholas van Dierendonk there in 4th as well. Hollings getting closer and closer to him as well. Lucas Valkyra has got company himself. 4 tenths back is Wame Font as they now head out to the Ascari chicane, and Font with a lovely launch heading out of Ascari. He will have the long straight to take before they venture into the Parabolica, and they do go side by side, as you can now see the lights now certainly blazing as now we see the street art. Oh, again another spin, this time for Faisal Karim. That's not ideal at all, and goes into the gravel trap. Ooh. You don't want to go in there. He's stuck. He is stuck. Jahid Faisal Karim in the gravel trap. Not ideal at all. A yellow flag at turn 11.
A yellow flag, inevitably, that will become a safety car. I'll predict it now. What that means is Charlie Hollings may well get back on the lead lap. If there is a safety car, Charlie Hollings, who's one of the more experienced drivers in the field, having raced in the World Endurance Championship in top-level Formula 3, he was a lap down, may well get back on the lead lap. For the moment, it is just a local yellow flag in turn 11. The beached Jetcraft 007 Aston. This is the reason why Jahid Faisal Karim has just taken over the wheel of the 007 Aston Martin Vantage. spun at the Lesmo curve. Disorientated, you'd have to say, the driver. Trying to find rhythm. It's easy for people to throw stones, but it is a very difficult conditions out here. Safety cars out on the circuit. Yeah. This may well put Hollings back on the lead lap.
Big opportunity for Charlie Hollings. He's going to want to really try and take it if he can. Of course, currently sat in 8th place. He is ahead of Jahid Faisal Karim, who is now essentially 2 laps down. Charlie Hollings really doing his utmost to try and bring himself back into contention. He's got Glauco Solieri ahead of him right now. Fingers crossed if he goes by the safety car, he might be able to bring that lap back in, but it's all question marks right now. We don't know what's going to happen yet to Jahid Faisal Karim's car. We haven't seen him step out yet. Could be the case they could get it back on the road and he can get back going again. We'll have to wait and see. But there is the man who's leading, Jan Larijsen, who has now got a near 14-second advantage. Oh, and there he is. He's still trying to spin it.
And the safety car has just left pit lane now. It shouldn't be too long to retrieve that car. So Jan Larijsen, after all this, remember, he is the championship leader.
Yeah,
that's critical.
It is very critical. This is really, while it is positive that the Jan Larijsen is in front, of course, he wouldn't necessarily want the grid to come back into contention because John de Wilde, while an AM driver, is still very accomplished behind the wheel. We have seen him in the past, of course, and he's done so well. One of the more consistent performers in the championship, has achieved podiums, has done well in terms of the AM category, leads that championship too. Stefano Zanini as well, very pacey. He'll be brought back into the affair. Van Dierendonk, we obviously know that he's very quick too. And so plenty of opportunities on track. If Charlie Hollings can be let by as well and get that lap down changed and obviously allow him to go past the safety car so he can catch up with the others, he could be a factor at the end of this race too.
If he can get back on the lead lap.
Big question marks.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the timing screen to correct itself. In the dying stages, just over 10 minutes remaining in race 1. Here at Monza, Camille Perrin retiring after 5 laps, after 8 laps, I should say, with a spectacular crash at the exit of Lesmo 2, wrote off the front right of the car. Jan Larijsen, the championship leader, is now the race leader. John de Wilde, he looks good in 2nd place as well. Stefano Zanini in position 3 in car 44. Nicolas van Dierendonk from the Bell Car Series for the Q1 Track Racing Team. 4 cars from the Q1 Track Racing Team here this weekend, including Jan Larijsen, the Belgian, the Porsche 992 GT3 Cup car. Charlie Hollings just going by in the 76 car. And 53, Lucas Valcre, recently competing in the Ultimate Cup Series in Formula Renault in the past couple of seasons. So we're less than 10 minutes to the checkered flag. John de Wilde on your screen in position 2. You saw him flash the headlights earlier on in the race. Was back in 4th place at the start, moved into 3rd. He's into 2nd and wants P1. The problem is the championship leader is Camille Perrin's right front Michelin is still parked against the Armco at the exit of Lesmo 2. Jan Larijsen has got the championship lead and the race lead as well. Coming into this round, the penultimate round of the series, Jan Larijsen 75 points. Dirk Schalten and Lucas Valcre 68 points. John de Wilde P3 outright on 44 points in the championship. From here, we go to Barcelona from Monza, of course. Barcelona in 3 weeks' time from now, where almost certainly the rain in Spain will not be falling. We are expecting, incidentally, a dry circuit tomorrow. Overnight showers should clear by the morning. The track is likely to be damp, but the standing water hopefully will be gone as we do retrieve the car of Jahid Faisal Karim. The Jetcraft 007 Aston Martin Vantage, driven by the French driver. Just getting back to the point, yes, it did look like a clumsy incident. It's very easy for us to sit in the comfort of our own homes and throw out criticisms, but it is very difficult out there after spinning just a few moments ago, possibly just trying to get some rhythm, some momentum, and just losing a bit of concentration and possibly even being disorientated. Remember, these cars have got 600 odd horsepower. The Michelin wets do a fine job as Glauco Solieri goes through, but on a greasy circuit like this, it is very easy to throw it into the gravel, into the wall. as Faisal Karim did just a few moments ago. So just over 7.5 minutes remaining. Race 1, the penultimate round of the 2022 GT Cup Championship, kicking off at Paul Ricard in the south of France in 2022. Going to Spa-Francorchamps in June. Budapest and the Hungaroring, the home of the Hungarian Formula One Grand Prix, here at Monza and at Barcelona in 3 weeks' time to decide the title. 5-second penalty for John de Wilde for an incorrect stop with the time handicap. So John de Wilde with a 5-second penalty, and the safety car will not help. So even if he does get by Jan Lauritsen, if, it is a big if, he'll have to win the race by 5.1 seconds on the road to take victory here this afternoon. Jan Lauritsen just needs to stay with him. So a shock here this afternoon. John de Wilde, after looking good, he was in position 4, up into 3rd place, now in 2nd, but a handicap penalty means that John de Wilde has been penalised 5 seconds. The Aston Martin being retrieved from the gravel as we speak. It will be a sprint to the checkered flag. There is Nicholas van Dierendonk on your screen, and there is one squirrel running for its life to the bottom left of your screen. Here in the Monza Park, there are thousands of them. That one takes refuge behind the Armco. The Monza circuit, built back in 1922, hosting the Italian Formula One Grand Prix right here 13 days ago, and celebrating one centenary of motor racing earlier on in the month. So Faisal Karim has rejoined on the start-finish straight. We'll just be praying to bring it home. No harm done. The car was straight just into the gravel. And plenty of stones in the front grille as well. He's half a lap behind the safety car, which will pull into pit lane at the end of this lap, and we will sprint to the checkered flag. Jan Lauritsen, position 1. John de Wilde in P2. Stefano Zagnini in car 44 for SP Racing, trying to chase down and pass not one but 2 cars from Q1 Track Racing. The team so prominent in the Bell Car Series in the north of Europe, also in the Zolder 24-hour race. They're 1 and 2 here this afternoon. Just reminding you, John de Wilde, who wants to take the victory here this afternoon, has just been handed a 5-second penalty. Safety car in at the end of this lap. It will be 4 minutes, 30 seconds to sprint to the checkered flag. Jan Lauritsen goes, he accelerates, the safety car pulls into pit lane. Still a yellow flag on the start-finish straight. It will change to green imminently. There is Charlie Hollings in the background, and the green flag flies, and now we sprint to the checkered flag. Race 1, round 4, the 2022 GT Cup Championship here at Monza. John de Wilde, Stefano Zagnini goes side by side. John de Wilde holds the position. Fabio Fabiani with a superb restart. Fabio way back in car 9 in position 9, but has to brake early down into the chicane. John de Wilde, super restart, but Lauritsen is gone. The gap is already 4 seconds as Jean Font goes through. The Spanish driver racing also in the GTOpen Championship in 2022. Lucas Valkyrie behind the wheel of car 53 after taking over from the early race leader Dirk Schouten earlier on. Just over 3 minutes remaining. There is Charlie Hollings behind the wheel, former competitor in the World Endurance Championship, has raced Formula 3 in Britain, Formula 3 in Australia, has raced GT in the continent, GT back in Britain. But for an incident with his co-driver, Ria Lucas, earlier on in the race, what could have been, he'll get another chance tomorrow. But the 76 Lamborghini He's quick here this afternoon on a almost drying track. There is no dry line, but there is a clean line. There's not too much standing water in certain parts of the circuit. There is Jan Lauritsen, almost dry as they come out of underneath the old banking. There is Charlie Hollings, tries to send it up the inside of Stefano Zanini. He is unfortunately still a lap down, could not get that lap back despite the safety car intervention. Goes down the back straight, trying to make the position on the road on Stefano Zanini with 2 minutes 22 left on the clock in race 1 here at Monza. Jan Lauritsen, 5.6 seconds back to John de Wilde. Charlie Hollings sends it down the inside into the Parabolica. What a move on Stefano Zanini, driving the wheels off the 76 Lamborghini. Makes the place on the road, not in the race. But a nice move entertaining us here in the dying stages of race 1 here at Monza. So less than 2 minutes remaining. We expect this to be the penultimate lap. Waiting for word from race control. There is Hollings down the inside, down into the chicane. Pulls to his left, to your right. He's P3 on the road, but unfortunately car 76, P8 in the race. There's Nicholas van Dierendonck, third in the championship in 2021. Nicholas in car 52 in position 5. Up the inside goes Johan Font. This is the battle for the final podium position. Jan Lauritsen has got 6.9 seconds on John de Wilde, who himself has got a 5-second penalty. On his way to victory and almost one hand on the championship title is Jan Lauritsen. The Belgian driver for the Belgian team, Q1 Track Racing, is gone. 6.9 seconds down the road on lap 21. We are into the final minute of the race. Waiting for word from race control with just over 30 seconds remaining, so we expect the next to be the last lap of the race. There is Charlie Hollings. We'll still finish down in position 8, but it's been an impressive performance. And just behind him, Stefano Zanini still in position 3. Johan Font wants it, and as does Nicholas van Dierendonck in car 52 in position 5. Lauritsen turns down into the Parabolica, will just cross the line. We are watching the time at the top of your screen, so there may be one more after this. So next time round will be the checkered flag. You saw the starter in the background. He just missed it by a few seconds. This is the last lap of the race. Jan Lauritsen on his way to victory. The gap last time, 9.1 seconds. This is why he is the championship favourite with just 3 races and 1 lap remaining in 2022. Hollings in the background goes down into the chicane. Lauritsen, de Wilde and Font, 1, 2, 3. But remember, Jean de Wilde has got a 5-second penalty. That may actually drop him off the podium. Jan Lauritsen on your screen. Dit is de laatste ronde for the pilot van België. This is the last lap for the driver from Belgium in position 1. Car 54, Dirk Schouten, the early race leader. It looks as though they may scrape on to the podium depending what happens in the final few corners and with the penalties applied, but it looks unlikely. Dirk Schouten, Lucas Valcres, second in the series. Jan Lauritsen, P1 in the championship. Jan Lauritsen, P1 on the road. Under the old banking, the historic banking here at Monza for the final time. Pulls to his right, to your left, down into the Ascari chicane. Rides the Ripple Strip, accelerates. Q1 Track Racing came to Monza with 4 cars. It's looking good for the team from the Benelux region. Down the back straight for the final time. This is the last lap. Jan Lauritsen has almost written his name on the 2022 GT Cup Championship Trophy. Into the Michele Alboreto Parabolica for the final time. Q1 Track Racing, the Belgian driver from Belgium accelerates, and that checkered flag waves. Jan Lauritsen takes victory in race 1 GT Cup here at Monza. a spectacular, a dominant drive by Jan Lauritsen to take position 1. John de Wilde will cross the line. We have to wait to see where that penalty puts him. He has pulled away from the rest of the field, though, dominantly in the dying stages. There's Charlie Hollings, finishes in P8. 1 lap down, a 5-second penalty to John de Wilde, but it does not matter because Johan Font has come across the line in position 3, a mile behind. John de Wilde takes 2nd place. There is the race winner. There is almost the championship elect, or the champion-elect for 2022. Jan Lauritsen with an intelligent, strong drive here this afternoon. In atrocious conditions, we are just 2 days into the start of autumn here in Italy, in the north of Europe. The north of Italy. Well, somewhere in Central Europe. I mean to say summer is now over. Jan Lauritsen from Belgium takes the victory. As the rain has just fallen since the outset. He'll be back tomorrow, of course, qualifying and race 2. Jan Lauritsen, the solo effort. And there is John de Wilde in the background. So Q1 track racing 1-2 here this afternoon. And Vaporo Motorsport with Joan Vignes, the Andorran, sharing the car with Johan Font. Come home in position 3. Bad luck for Stefano Zanini, just misses the podium by a single position. Nicolas van Dierendonk, Lucas Valkyrie as well, finishes in P6 after his co-driver Dirk Schouten led the first half of the race. Jan Lauritsen takes the victory here this afternoon. And we'll hear from the Belgian in pit lane in just a few moments. Of course, tomorrow qualifying and race 2. And in 3 weeks' time at Barcelona, the circuit of Catalunya, to round out the 2022 championship. Lauritsen driving solo takes the victory from John de Wilde, Q1 track racing 1 and 2, and the Vaporo Motorsport entry of Vignes and Johan Font home in 3rd. Pisani Zanini in 4th. Van der Velde and Nicolas van Dierendonk. Valkyrie and Dirk Schouten P6. Glauco Solieri also doing the race solo. Hollings and Lucas a lap down after stopping bizarrely, or in bizarre circumstances, earlier on in the race. Fabio Fabiani, Jahid Faisal Karim, good on him. He does bring the Aston Martin to the checkered flag. So the Drivers' Championship looks like this. 17 points now is the difference, or the lead, that Jan Lauritsen has got going into race 2 tomorrow. Teammate John de Wilde. Good strong finish from John de Wilde as well. Flashing the headlights, moving past the traffic to come home in 2nd place after running in 4th earlier on in the race. But there is the race winner. A hard day's or hard afternoon's work. Jan Lauritsen takes the victory in race 1 here at Monza. Johan Font and Joan Vignes take position 3 in race 1 here this afternoon. John de Wilde, a strong driver, strong finish, and he comes home 2nd, and also with the N-Class victory. P1, car 54, one hand on the championship trophy, it would seem, for 2022. Jan Lauritsen takes the victory. It's a Q1 track racing victory. Let's hear from Jan now.
Jan Lauritsen, nice weather here in Zolder. No, it's Monza, sorry.
Yeah, it's quite tough. It's, during the race we had some hard rain, but yeah, I really like it. So first time it's not close to 40 degrees, but yeah, I like it. So.
Yeah, it doesn't change for you. You with extreme heat you were first, with rain you are first. just looks good for the championship.
Yeah, I think now it's very close to be the champion. So yeah, it's going good.
Good, well done. Will you buy little cars at the shop like last year, maybe?
Yeah, I already did. So the kids will be happy when I'm back home. So.
So it's a good trip. Well done. Bye.
We'll explain the in-joke between Jan and Alfredo later in the broadcast. The highlights of race 1 here at Monza in the pouring rain. The Porsches on the front row of the grid. Dirk Schouten and Jan Lauritsen 1 and 2 in the series, but 2 and 1 on the grid. Down into the chicane, a reasonably good clean start considering the atrocious conditions here this afternoon at Monza. Dirk Schouten pulled away. He established a nice lead in the rain. Pulling away from Jan Lauritsen. And then this brought out the safety car. Camille Perriand smacking the barrier at the exit of the Lesmo corner. And Glauco Solieri doing well to avoid the Romanian driver who did not realise that he had lost the front right. Into the pits, the compulsory driver change of the compulsory pit stop at least. Jan Lauritsen, he's doing the race solo, still did have to stop and aggressively put the 54 car on the right-hand side of the road, said, this race is mine, boys, and from there would pull away to take the victory. Jan Lauritsen with the win and now a 17-point lead in the 2022 championship. John de Wilde coming home in P2 despite a 5-second penalty. Still holds on to second place. Johan Font and Joan Binez home in third place. So the rain continuing to fall, but that will not deter our drivers as they make their way up onto that podium across the gantry here at Monza. First, second and third here this afternoon. The first 2 drivers doing the race solo, and it will be Joan Font from Spain and Joan Binez from Andorra in third place. Don't forget qualifying tomorrow morning and race 2 tomorrow afternoon.
A ver, el terzo. No, terzo. Estamos en el podio.
Where is third? Where is Joan and Juame? Well, they're about to make their way across the gantry out onto the circuit. Jaume Font and Joan Binez take position 3 and second in the AM category as well. Second, and with the AM class victory, John de Wilde. Great drive by John. P1 in the championship. Wrong step, John. P1 in the championship and P1 in race 1 here this afternoon. The Belgian Jan Lauritsen takes the victory here at Monza. Thank you for joining us here in atrocious conditions here at Monza. We are hoping for a dry race tomorrow, but join us tomorrow morning for qualifying race 2, the penultimate round of the GT Cup Open Championship, and of course race 2 this tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.